Well, welcome to our 12th annual DECA Day. It's a little different this year, of course. Normally, we host this at beautiful T-Mobile Park, but the park is not quite in use right now, as we all know. So we have become a little creative, and we're doing this via Zoom. And we have a wonderful panel of Mariners employees who are eager and willing to tell you their path to get to the big leagues. My name is Aaron Goldsmith. I'm a broadcaster with the Mariners. This is my 8th season with the ball club. I did 6 years in minor league baseball and kind of climbed the ladder through independent league ball to collegiate wood bat ball, through the low minors to the upper minors in AAA, where I was calling baseball in Rhode Island, of all places, before I got hired by the Mariners back in 2013. So I have my dream job for sure, and everybody who you will meet and hear from today, they have what is their dream job or is on their path to an even greater dream job that they want. So it's a real honor and a real thrill to work in Major League Baseball each and every day, as you can imagine. And who knows, hopefully maybe we'll see some of you all working either with the Mariners or somewhere else in the big leagues one day. So let's get things going. We will introduce our panel in alphabetical order, and we will start with one of the only people who has keys to the palace right now. It is pretty hard to get into T-Mobile Park, but we welcome Devin Burns, who is the ballpark operations coordinator. Devin, it's good to have you. How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Doing very well. Well, Devin comes to Seattle after graduating from San Diego State University in 2017, so not all that long ago. 5 seasons she spent with the Padres in event operations before moving here to our great city to join the Mariners ballpark operations team. She's now in her 2nd season with the ball club and oversees the ballpark setup crew and focuses on game day operations and Mariners internal events. So first of all, Devin, there's a lot going on there. Before we talk about your job, I am curious how eerie and creepy the ballpark is right now with almost nobody there on a daily basis.
It's definitely different. You're used to the hustle and bustle around here. Even when there's no fans in the building, there's still at least 300 people running around. So about a skeleton crew of 20 people in the building at most. So it's a different experience for sure.
Well, you know, any ballpark, just like T-Mobile Park, it's kind of like a mini city. So when you are part of the operations crew and you're the operations coordinator, I mean, there's a lot going on, even when there's not a game. It must be hard to have a day off in your line of work.
Absolutely. We're a 24/7 facility. So our security team is always in the building. We oversee the loading dock, shipments coming in, late hours. Right now, things are coming in delayed. So working with a minimal team has definitely been a challenge. Not all the parts of the city are here kind of doing their part. So we're kind of bending and helping out where we can, doing jobs that aren't necessarily ours to kind of keep the building operating in this time.
Well, Devin, we're happy to have you, and we're glad you're staying safe inside the ballpark these days.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to Jasmine Garza. Jasmine, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing very well. Jasmine works with a partnership activation coordinator. Jasmine, you're on the activation team, which automatically has this like very robust sound to it. Like, are you as important as activation team makes you sound? I would hope so.
I wish I was. You know, we look like a great team, but yes. So,
well, more specifically, you help with advertise for our corporate partners and clients, whether we're talking inside the ballpark or out in the community. Our partnership team and yourself assist in coming up with creative ways to keep companies seamlessly integrated with the Mariners brand. So is it more sales? Is it more marketing? Is it kind of a hybrid of the two, or is it something completely different?
You're kind of spot on right there. So whenever I really tell people what I do, they don't really know what activation is or what it means. So I like to compare it to our marketing department. So while a marketing department markets for the team, the players, and whatever internal campaigns that are going on, the activation team and the partnership team market for whatever companies want to be affiliated with our team and our internal campaigns. So a little bit of sales, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of client services, really just depends on the partnership.
All right. Sounds like well, we're happy to have you with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Aaron.
We'll move on to Adam Grash, who is in a very important department because they work with the broadcasters, baseball information coordination. Adam, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. When's the last time those skis came off your wall?
Way too long ago. Probably like December, maybe January.
Well, Adam is from Moscow, Idaho, and moved to Seattle to go to UW back in 2014. Now in his fourth season with the ball club, 2 years as an intern, where we didn't even talk to him. We didn't know his name. I mean, nobody paid any attention to him, but now he's a full-time guy, so we can say his name. He works with baseball information, which deals with public relations, related activities, stats, interviews, roster moves. It's a lot of baseball stuff, Adam. I mean, it's a really cool department for anybody who's kind of a real seamhead and has an interest in kind of the media side and also the baseball side. What made you choose to kind of get into this line of work?
Well, probably just the baseball in general. I think my first passion was definitely the sport, and then I kind of found where I fit within that. And I just like, basically I have the chance to bring baseball to as many people as possible in this role, like working with you and the writers to kind of push out our info and love for the team to the fans. So
ultimately, I dictate what goes out to the fans, Adam. I mean, let's get the hierarchy here. I mean, you give me the information, and if I approve it, then it goes out. I mean, let's just make that clear, right?
I mean, I'm kind of like pulling the strings behind the scenes here. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You were the puppet master behind the curtain. Well, yeah. Adam, it's good to have you, man.
Yeah, good to be here.
Well, we'll move on to Monica Marmoleo. Monica is by far the best at Excel. Like, of anyone here, like, she will run spreadsheets. I don't know. Devin's probably pretty good at spreadsheets in baseball. I can tell Devin took offense to that as soon as I said it. So I'm not here to make enemies. But Monica is a CPA, which is very intimidating. She joined the Mariners in 2016 as a controller. And she oversees the accounting finance department and is responsible for issuing monthly financial statements to our executive and ownership group, monitoring internal controls, preventing fraud. And Monica, you spared no expense writing your bio. This is very impressive. The preventing fraud in particular, reviewing tax implications and monitoring revenue streams, expenses against the budget. You fluent in Spanish, which is incredible because you then have this other arm of what you do, working directly with Latin scouts with the Dominican Academy staff. So let's talk about the accounting side first, Monica. I mean, most of the time when we think about a CPA or an accountant, we think about them, like in the corner, like not talking with people, right? With just like one light bulb swaying back and forth like this. But you found a way to become a CPA and work at a major league ballpark at the same time, which is incredible. What led to this confluence of two interests?
That's right. So first of all, when you think of an accountant, that's what you think of, someone who's not talking to anyone, crunching numbers. And it is the opposite. I'd say 90% to 98% of my time, I have people in my office. I'm talking to different departments. I started my career at Deloitte as an auditor. So I'd go into different companies and audit their books to make sure everything looked right. And one of my clients, they were the Mariners. And I will admit, I never thought of sports as a business. I'd walk into the ballpark and I'd walk in as a fan. And now I walk in and I'm thinking about the numbers. I'm thinking, can we cut this expense? How much revenue is this bringing in? And so it kind of meshes both of my worlds together quite well. I served the Mariners as their auditor previously. And so that's how I knew and got to know their accounting streams and the staff on their team. And kind of both of my paths just happened to cross at the right time.
So did a job open up and they reach out to you since they knew you so well? Or did you know that a job was open and you applied?
Great question. Ironically, so I spent 6 years at Deloitte and I said, okay, it's time for me to move on. I don't want to be a partner at the firm. And I told the Mariners, I've served you guys for 6 years. I just want to let you guys know that I'm going to, take my career in a different direction and I'm going to leave Deloitte, which is where I was at. And they said, oh my gosh, in 2 weeks, we're going to post this position. We think you'd be great at it. And I thought about it. I was like, something in the universe is aligning. This is amazing. I didn't know that they had a job opening coming up and it just happened to work out really well.
That's fantastic. Well, you're far too personable to be a CPA, but we're happy you're with us here today.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Mike Mendolia. Mike, First of all, congratulations for providing us with the shortest bio. So somebody had to be like, especially coming after Monica. I mean, this is a really bad one to follow, man. You should have let off. Seriously. How are you doing?
Camden said 3 sentences or less, so I went with less. But we're doing great over here. Hope all's well for you too.
Okay, well, Mike's bio is essentially a tweet. You've been with the Mariners for 6 years. You're in your second stint with the Mariners.
Oh.
You left. You were a free agent signing by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then you thought, "Heck with that. I'm more of an American League guy. Where's the DH?" So you come back to Seattle. You're from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I've already embellished, man. I got nothing else. Please tell us. You are in premium sales, which sounds better than regular sales. So please tell us about what you do.
Well, premium sales is just regular sales. We just sell the more high-end spaces. So for me and my role from a day-to-day, our primary function is generating revenue through our premium spaces. So through the Diamond Club, through the All-Star Club, through the new spaces in the Terrace Club, through our suite packages, things like that. We also service accounts. So we have the customer service side going on as well. So it gives us a nice blend of generating new as well as developing, some relationships and continuing that through the entire sales cycle to whether it's generate more revenue from an account by selling them new products and cross-selling and those kinds of things, or just keeping them come back year over year.
When you get to the big leagues, do you still have to cold call people, or is that only like low level, like short season A-ball where you cold call?
No, we still cold call, unfortunately. Although it can be fun once you get through the initial part of it. The cold calls are probably the most exciting part of what we do, in my opinion, anyway.
So, come on,
dude, it's a rush when you're trying to get the.
Dude, you need to have something more
sale.
exciting in your life if you think a cold call is a rush. I mean,
No,
for real.
Getting a sale is fun. When you get someone to spend $100,000, it can be it's really exciting. As Monica would probably agree. Yeah,
I'm sure. I mean, is that how you psych yourself up? Like, on the other end of this phone could be $100,000.
1,000%. I know if I make 100 calls, I'm probably going to talk to 3 people. So you gotta get excited when you can.
All right. Well, now this was much better than your bio. See, nobody knew that you were this great. Thank you, Mike.
Trying.
Hey, we'll move on to Mackenzie Mitchell. Kenz, how you doing? It's good to see you.
I am well. How are you?
Doing very well. So you've been like with the Mariners since basically you graduated high school, which is I'm eager to get into. You work in community relations, and you are our on-base program coordinator. You oversee all youth baseball and softball programming for the Mariners, and you manage the digital and in-park communication for the Mariners Care, for the club's nonprofit organization, Mariners Care, that is. And so You went to Seattle U, but you've been working in some capacity with the Mariners since you were a freshman in college?
That's correct. Yeah, I was actually hired as a Terrace Club staging house. That's what I was hired as, and I quickly transitioned out of that to become a fielder. So Devin works with the fielders now. So fielder, and then I worked my way into my department's internship, and then my current boss kind of swooped me from going into a law career. So here I am.
So I think a lot of people watching right now would probably be surprised that like a game day employee, which is what you started out as, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Could then transition to a full-time front office employee working in community relations. I mean, was this something that you mentioned law, but is this something that you kind of put your eye on at a certain point, or did all this just kind of come naturally and one good job led to the other?
Yeah, good question. I have known since I was about 6 years old, which was in 2001, that I wanted to work in baseball. So as we all know, 2001 was kind of a magic year for the Mariners. And I knew I wanted to work in baseball in some capacity, and I actually was pursuing a career to be an agent, which is quite different than what I do now. And so I knew that I wanted to work in baseball, so I did everything I could to be in that career path. So while I worked for the Mariners, I also worked for Seattle Youth baseball team and then at the Huskies baseball team as well. So I was pretty entrenched in it from the beginning, and I'm still entrenched in it.
Well, it's very cool. What a great career
Thank
path.
you.
Thanks for being with us today.
Of course. Good to see you.
Likewise. Jose Rivera. First of all, Jose, you're the only one who doesn't have quarantine hair. I mean, we're going to talk to Tyler soon, which you guys are polar opposites right now. Jose, you are the Mariners social media coordinator, born in the Puget Sound area, lifelong Mariners fan. You went to the desert to Arizona for over a decade, moved back to Seattle in 2017. And this is a really cool story. Like when I first met you, you were working as a Major League Baseball in-game social media coordinator. You were like this freelance man for hire, right? Like
Pretty
you're
much.
at the ballpark every day, but you're not a Mariners employee, but you're doing Mariners things. And now you are the Mariners social media coordinator. It's a great career path, Jose. How did all this kind of weave about for you?
You know, my path is definitely a little bit different than a lot of other people's. You know, I pretty much started in retail and customer service. I essentially built like kind of like my own little brand on social media by creating GIFs, cutting videos, graphics, things like that on my own. And then I happened to catch the eye of our old senior digital manager. He reached out saying that this in-game coordinator position was opening up for MLB and thought I'd be a good fit. And, you know, one thing led to another. And then, yeah, so technically I worked for MLB for 3 years, working with the Mariners. And then, you know, this opportunity came up and jumped right in.
Didn't you like basically, wasn't there like basically like an MLB lawsuit on how good your social media content was? Like, weren't they like threatening the FBI to come and arrest you for your great work that you were doing? That they were like, hey, only we can do these kinds of things, not Jose.
There was definitely shadowy figures following me around for a while. Yeah, you know, back then, you know, they weren't too keen on, you know, creating GIFs from games and things like that. They've definitely opened up a lot more now. You know, and I've definitely, I've been on MLB's radar for different reasons for a while. And yeah, you know, it's just funny how it works out from, you know, being on that side of it and, you know, getting DMCA requests and now actually being on this side of it. So
Well,
it's
it's
been
awesome,
an interesting
man.
path.
Well, we're happy that you're full-time with the Mariners now, and thanks for being with us here today.
Of course.
All right, Tyler Thompson, man, you are looking very shipwrecked, but it's a good. You wear it well. You're pulling it off.
Yeah, thank you. I would ask to borrow some of your hair gel, but my guess.
You know, I don't know why everybody says gel, man. Gel's been gone like since Edgar. Okay, like the double, like that was the peak of gel. Like, there's no more gel, man.
Are you a pomade guy? What
Yes,
is it?
it's a matte pomade, semi-gloss at most.
So to speak.
Okay,
Okay. All right. Thanks for
but I'll
sharing.
hook you up. I got a closet full of it, man. I got a closet full of it. Hey, you're a marketing manager. Feel very good about that. And you're a former DECA star.
All-star, I would say.
Well said. My apologies.
Yeah.
You competed in sports and entertainment marketing, not just 3 years, all 4 years of high school at Central Valley High in Spokane, then on to Eastern Washington University, undergrad and graduate degrees, and now a member of Mariners marketing since 2018. Tyler.
Yep.
Congratulations. It all started with 4 years of DECA competition.
Honestly, my sports career did. For the longest time, I wanted to be like a wildlife biologist. I wanted to be the next Steve Irwin. And then in high school, the great Mrs. Barnhart at Central Valley High School got me into sports entertainment marketing. I competed for 4 years. When I turned 16, I got my first gig with the Single-A Spokane Indians, Hawken programs. And since 16, I haven't had a job that wasn't in sports. Worked minor league baseball, minor league hockey, worked for Eastern Washington University, and then in March of 2018, the Mariners brought me out. So that was the start of it all, DECA.
Okay, first of all, you look like a wildlife biologist right now. Like
Thanks.
if you had like a khaki vest and binoculars, right?
Aaron, I have a khaki vest and camouflage binoculars. Don't make me go get them.
Hey, you know, it might be worth it. Okay, so I'm pumped that you were not only in the minors, but you were at the lowest level of the minors. I mean, you're at short season Spokane. I mean, how crazy? What year was that?
Okay, so 2011 through 2017, I was there for 7 years, 7 seasons. But wait till I tell you the arc of my career. You probably don't know this. I was a program hawker for 2 years, and then I was like an usher, what we called section leaders. Then I was the clubby for 3 seasons at Single A Spokane, and then I became the press box manager, and I kind of helped oversee the like in-game, presentation and promotions. So I kind of had a weird arc.
Yeah, like that's kind of like right, and then like what did you do like wrong to?
I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. Like when I had the opportunity to become the clubby, first of all, it was good money for a college student and a
Sure.
good opportunity to network. And I got to meet both Dylan Moore and Eric Swanson, who are on our club now. They both played in clubhouses while I was the clubby there. So
Do they even remember to talk to you at all?
Yeah,
They do. Do they tell you to shine their shoes? They're like, hey
Some
Tyler,
help.
here are my spikes.
yeah, I had to show them me pre-hair and beard, but no, but yeah, I've got had the chance to meet those guys then and network and meet a bunch of good people, and more than anything, like work ethic is what I learned.
Sure.
That job kicked my butt for 3 summers, and it taught me that I didn't necessarily want to work in sports equipment, but
Especially dirty sports equipment.
yeah, but it was like I wouldn't change it for anything. I met great friends and good networking contacts, and so it was a big chore for a 19-year-old kid to balance a budget and to oversee a home and a visiting clubhouse, but it was a ton of fun.
Dude, that's awesome. Like to think about being in a tiny little short season ballpark for that long, and then all of a sudden you're in T-Mobile Park, right? Like one of the most beautiful ballparks in the country. Like that's awesome. Good for you. That's very cool. Well, so we've kind of got a good feel for our panelists and their path to get to where they are and what they do. Pretty diverse, right? Both in terms of the paths and also their role within the organization. And hopefully what you're seeing is that like to be a part of a big league front office, it's more than just like the team president and a couple of salespeople. I mean, there's a lot that goes on here, and almost no matter what your interest is, there can be something that lines up with a pro sports organization, whether it be baseball or any other sport. So some of you have submitted some questions to us, and we're going to go through them, and we've kind of handpicked some people who we think might be best at responding. So I'll play traffic cop here a little bit, guys. First of all, Evan leads us off from Olympia High School. And Monica, this one is for sure for you. Evan would like to know how many people are on your accounting team.
There are a total of 9 of us, from our CFO down to our staff accountant. So we have our CFO, our VP, then me, the controller, which is kind of the director of the department. And then we have an AP accountant. So he handles all of our invoices, makes sure that all of our vendors get paid. On the other side of that, we have another accountant who collects all the money from all the ticket sales, any non-baseball events that we have from the ballpark, so the money coming in. And then we have our payroll accountant, make sure that all employees get paid and players. And then lastly, we have 2 accountants that kind of are general, and so they help us with anything and everything in between. So whether that's managing our investment portfolio, settling kind of like, we have non-baseball events that happen at the ballpark while the team is traveling, such as concerts. So they help manage all the books and activity for that.
Do you guys have like mental math competitions?
Sometimes we do in our happy hours.
See, you guys you can't help it. You just can't help. You get 9 of you guys together, and it's just like, yeah.
Yep. Who can 10 key the fastest? Yeah.
All right. Very nice. All right. Hey, Stevenson High School checks in. Ellie would like to know, and Mackenzie, this is lined up in your direction. In regard to community relations, how does your organization figure out what projects to be part of? I would imagine there are lots of different really good causes to join, but
Right. No, great question. I'd first like to address the gel thing, and I'd say Brad Mitchell my father very much still thinks that gel is still a thing. So
I'm very sad to hear that.
Just had to hit it for the record. So that's a great question. So Mariners Care is the team's nonprofit organization, which I think is important to address, because I myself, going through high school, I didn't know that teams had their own nonprofits, and philanthropy was something I was really interested in. So when I would watch SportsCenter and watch the Make-A-Wish videos that you sometimes see, those are obviously really moving. And I didn't know that there was folks inside each team that had to help with, or I should say, get to help with the operation of those things. So Mariners Care is kind of the side of baseball you don't always see. That's our tagline. So obviously, and right now during the COVID crisis, it's a good time to think about this question. There are so many communities in need, right? So as a department, we kind of have two focuses right now, and one of those is youth baseball and softball, and making sure that those games are equitable for all kids who choose to play the game, regardless of any barriers they may face. And so it's really important for us right now. Our big push is with our On Base initiative, and it's really important to us to help change the narrative of who baseball is for, and make sure that our game is reflective of our communities at large. So that's our main priority, and then, or one of our main priorities, and the other is addressing the homelessness crisis in our city, which is obviously a massive epidemic. So we have those two buckets that we kind of use, or we currently use as our two barometers of what communities we will help to serve. But at large, Mariners Care, we rarely say no to any community member that needs anything. We primarily serve youth-oriented communities. So we work a lot with Seattle Children's, Mary Bridge, those kind of, and I know, Aaron, you've been along on our community tour, so you're familiar with that. But we do our best to use our platform for what we can help enact change with. And what makes the most sense is we're a baseball team. So working within the youth sports space makes a lot of sense, but we also want to be cognizant of what our community is dealing with. And right now with the COVID crisis, so much of that is changing. A lot of our community members are now facing hunger who never did before. So we always have to be adaptive, and every year that changes. And our goal is to be proactive rather than reactive when our communities do face these kind of crises.
Yeah, Mariners Care is such a powerful arm of the Mariners, and there's so much good work, and we can't get the good word of Mariners Care out enough. So really good work by you and everybody else, for sure.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right, Jose. Christopher from South Kitsap High, he's got one for you. How do you plan your marketing posts on social media? And if they aren't successful, do you delete them or do you keep them posted?
You know, a lot of it comes down to communication with other departments, trying to find out what needs other departments have, whether it's like partnerships or sales, being in communication with them just so we can kind of put that message out for them. But it's also being aware of what's going on, among the Mariners fan base, what their interests are, how to stay relevant, amongst, what they're talking about. And not just like in sports, just kind of in general. We pretty much keep a sheet of all the things that we want to publish, but we also have like the copy or the caption for everything for a couple of days in advance just to be prepared. And the other thing too is being flexible. We really have to be flexible. Like if, an event occurs where, it may not be a good time to post something lighthearted, we have to say like, okay, let's pump the brakes on that. Let's take away all scheduled posts and, just kind of, again, stay flexible. And to the second part of that question, if it's not successful, we leave it up. We don't delete any posts unless there's like a typo, which we try and avoid. But for the most part, if it's not successful, we leave it as it is. We take those as learning lessons. If we learn what works, what doesn't work. If we're using a photo is good, maybe we use a video next time. We kind of learn with each post.
Do you think that posting more broadcaster headshots would be good for the overall traffic of the brand?
I was actually thinking of bringing up a separate account strictly for.
Oh,
headshots.
Yes.
We'll get it verified. And we know someone that we could reach out to for headshots, Aaron. So we can do that.
Man, Tyler, you're not going to get in on this, man. Broadcaster headshots, not Audubon Society headshots. Okay, just you can tap the brakes on that. Jose, I like the idea, and I like that you're powerful enough that you can just like get it verified. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. I have contacts. I have people I talk to. It's all good.
All right, very nice. All right. So this is, I think, a pretty possibly in-depth answer coming from Devin in quarantine in the ballpark. This comes from Brian at Skyline High. What does a day in ballpark operations look like?
Yes, Brian, that's a very loaded question.
And Devin, we don't have 4 hours.
Okay, start playing the music for me if I start me off the stage. A day in ballpark operations. So kind of the umbrella of operations, you have the security department, you have guest services, you have events, housekeeping, and we work closely with catering. But beyond that, some of the folks you see on the screen, other departments, have an operational need. And in order for one day to operate smoothly, we need to make sure everybody's on the same page. So about a few days before every homestand, we kind of get together and make sure that we kind of go game by game. We know that security is going to be where they're supposed to be. If Mike has an event with a special client coming in and he needs some special table drops, or a DJ needs some power to get plugged in, kind of get everybody on one page all together. As much as you plan for these things, something's going to happen and throw you off track. So a lot of operations is kind of adapting and modifying those plans. So it's definitely very exciting. No game is ever the same. So we take every game kind of like a new event. Even if it has the same start time, same team, something different is happening, whether it's a bobblehead giveaway, a bark at the park. There's different ways you need to approach them. So for like a busy bobblehead theme night, our staff comes in about 8 hours before first pitch to get all the gates prepped. We get all the boxes out to every gate. We set up all the lines. We kind of comb through the ballpark to make sure all the spaces are set. It definitely takes an army to make sure that this place looks game ready for our fans to come in and get in safely. Throughout the game, if there's events going on, our team is kind of on standby to strike events, assist with crowd control where needed. We're definitely the first in the building and the last to leave at night. So towards the end, if we have a post-game event, sometimes we have dogs on the warning track, bark at the park. We make sure that event goes off without a hitch, get everybody out of the building and kind of clean up and get ready for the next day. So yeah, that's kind of the rough gist of it.
Okay, so you would be even more sensitive to this than I am, but tell me you agree with this. If there is a post-game event, like 2 odds it's going extra innings, like for sure.
Every
Absolutely.
Fireworks night, thank you marketing, every fireworks night we're in like the bottom of the 14th. We're all at because we have the second the game's over, we have signs that have to go into place. We have the fire marshal needs to get in place. And so we're standing in the same spot from the 9th inning to the 14th inning, no matter what.
Yeah, and for kids who are watching this that like are hearing everything that you guys are saying, and it sounds awesome, and it just sounds like glory job, right? Like everything is great, everything is awesome. Like imagine being the person who on Bark in the Park night, when the dogs walk the bases and they play 14 innings, you're the one cleaning up after the dogs. Like somebody's doing that.
That guy, he's in really good spirits all the time. It's the same guy for Bark at the Park, and he's great.
All right. Well, you're testing him and his spirits with that. That's a good answer. There's a lot going on in ballpark ops. All right. Let's see. Tyler and Adam. This one comes in from a student at Richland High School. Tyler, we'll start with you. What is something that you do in your career that you don't think many people know or expect?
Yeah, you kind of just alluded to it a little bit, you know, with the Bark in the Park and the late inning games.
Are you that guy? You're the guy.
No, I was when I was at Single A Spokane, but no. But honestly, you know, I think a lot of times people have the impression that, you know, once game time starts, the building, you know, a lot of people go home for the day. And at least, you know, for me, that's not the case. And for a lot of people on this panel, it's not the case. You know, they're long 12, 14, 16-hour days sometimes on game days. They can be long and grueling. And, you know, I work up in our control room on game days, helping oversee our game presentations. So, you know, our programming content for our video boards and writing PA scripts for our PA announcer and, you know, working with our DJ on music and those kind of things. So I'm there until the very last out. And just as Adam and Devin and so many other people on this panel are. So while sports is a ton of fun to work in and it's very fulfilling, and it's great when your ball club can get a win and, you know, events go off well and attendances are full, you know, we play 81 home games. So they're not always like that. You know, there's midweek games where there's less people in attendance. There's games that we're not going to win and we're not going to win close sometimes. And you're still there till the end. So I would say that, the amount of time that we spend at the ballpark is maybe would be misunderstood by some people.
Sure. By the way, I love it. I love it when front office employees, when they say, "Oh, we got a 7-game homestand." It's like, yeah, well, guess what? When the team's not here, guess where they are? They're on the road, and somebody's calling those games. 162, Tyler.
Totally.
But see, here's the difference. All I have to do, the difference between my job and everybody's job here is that I only have to worry about myself. Like, it's a very easy job. It's like, get ready, like nerd out on some baseball websites, learn a number of things about players, and then call the game and then go home. Right? Like, you guys have got these 16-hour days and you're worried about whole crews and departments, and you're on like Devin's got 100 walkie-talkies behind her, like we don't have to, I'm not talking to Riz on a walkie-talkie, like Riz is going to do his thing. I'll do my thing. So, and we're fine. You guys have it hard.
It's not entirely true. You have a difficult job. You have a long, grueling job, and you do a great job doing it. We're happy to have you with the Mariners.
That's very nice of you. I'd rather do 162 with what with only worrying about myself than 81 and, dealing with the Jose's of the world. You know what I mean? Seriously. All right. Adam, what say you on surprising things about your job?
Well, I was going to say something similar, just like, get in at 9 a.m. and leave at 11 p.m. on a game day. But like Aaron, someone from my department travels with the team because Aaron needs to be babysat in every city he goes to. Well,
somebody has to give me things to say.
Yeah, so like I said before, we're the puppet masters behind. If you ever hear, if you ever hear, like Kyle Seager hit 4 home runs on a Wednesday when the sun's out in June.
Yeah.
Like Aaron likes to say on the broadcast, we probably gave him that stat to say. So,
but I will never credit you for it.
No,
ever.
Not ever. No,
never.
Yeah. So I know before I worked in baseball, I was always like, who comes up with these things? Like those stats. That's me who comes up with them. So, yeah.
You have become the person that you never knew existed.
Yeah, exactly. Full circle.
That'll make Mom proud. Hey, this is for Jasmine and Monica, and it comes in from Aya at Woodinville High School. What has the coronavirus situation right now taught you? I'm assuming about your job, your industry, your profession. Jasmine, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we as a partnership department are very relationship based. So right now we would be looking forward to the season as an opportunity to build those relationships with our partners. However, with everything virtual right now, we are kind of relearning how to do that. And as a department, we really lean on our IT department to do that digitally. So it's definitely been a learning game for us to try to connect with partners in different ways, but luckily we have a team behind us to support us in doing that.
Monica?
Yeah, along the same lines, I think for me, the key point that I've learned has been what I've come to call the value of constraints. So we're all, like Jasmine mentioned, she's very face-oriented with her clients and she can no longer do that. So she got a roadblock and she's now having to relearn to go around that roadblock. However, in the future, that's probably going to add more value. If she can't have a face-to-face, she may be able to set something up virtually. And I have been so impressed with the way that different departments within our organization have gotten creative. When we in finance, when we heard no games, no fans, no revenue coming in, I mean, we closed the valves to all the budgets and kind of sat with every department and said, all right, we have to get creative, we have to get strategic. And that forces people to think differently. And the ideas that they came up with different ways to interact with the fans, different ways to kind of transition back, potentially, hopefully soon, back into the ballpark. I've really been impressed with the way that people have been able to kind of use these obstacles to get to a better spot. Even though it's very hard and sometimes very frustrating to have these types of constraints, I think all in all, we're going to come out in a better place. It's kind of, I guess the best way to compare it is when you go to the gym and you're hurting and your lung capacity is, at its max, but you come out 3 months later, much healthier in a higher, performing place. I think that's where we're all going to get to. And whether it's later this season or next year, we're going to come out stronger.
Yeah, there's been a lot of pivoting. There's been a lot more versatility put in a lot of people's game, I'd have to imagine, with everything, all the creativity that's been going on that you referenced earlier. Thank you. Hey, Mike, we haven't heard from Mike in a while. All right, it's been too long. A student at Richland High School, this is for Mike and Mackenzie, wants to know, Mike, if you weren't in your current career, what career would you be seeking out?
Yeah, that's a good one. What I know for sure is it would still be in sports, because it's just been the thing I've been passionate about my entire life, and all of my best memories as a kid were going to games. Unfortunately for people out here, was going to games at Yankee Stadium. But that's what I remember, spending time with my dad and my family. It was involved in sports or going to games, and with my kids it's like that too. From a department perspective, in the start of my career as an intern with the Philadelphia Flyers in community relations, and really all we did all summer was travel around and teach kids how to play street hockey, and it was awesome. We were the good guys. Everybody wanted to talk to you. It's like the polar opposite of sales. Everybody wanted to talk to you.
It's true.
Because we always had things for them, right? We always had things to give them. A former Flyer, Bob Kelly, who won a Stanley Cup, was there with us. So he was the main attraction everywhere that we would go. So I think if I could pick a different department, it would be on the community side, because it's the polar opposite of sales.
Along those lines, Mackenzie?
Well, now I feel obligated to say I would work in sales, but that's just not the case.
No way. There's no way. Unless you're the lure of that $100,000 call.
Well, depends if we're fundraising, it's a different story. Great question. I too feel like sports are where I was meant to be. I am very, very grateful every day that I get to call this a job. I tell people, sometimes I feel like I'm a professional fairy godmother, and that's the best way that I can describe community relations in a nutshell. On the opposite side of that, before I pursued a career in community relations, I was committed to go get my law degree in sport law and business, because I wanted to be an agent for professional baseball players. So as you know, Aaron, that's quite a different career path. However, my motives for wanting to be an agent were somewhat along the same lines of I wanted to help MLB players, specifically those from Latin America, be able to get equitable contracts and then be able to give back to their communities that were in need back where they were from, which is why I was a Spanish major and the whole 9 yards. So I was able to do that same level of work, but on the club level, and I don't have to be an agent, which I'm sure that if anyone out there wants to be an agent, I'm sure that's a great path to pursue, but I don't know if I have the demeanor for it. So here I am.
You're just crushing dreams of everybody right now who wants to work in sports representation. But that's okay. That's fine. They'll be out there working. It's a great career path.
I'm sure it pays really well. Depending on who you represent.
Truth be told, when I was in AA in the Dallas area, I would go speak at career days all the time, like at high schools and grade schools and that type of thing. And at one middle school career day, I talked about being a broadcaster. And in the middle, this time I'm in AA. I'm on long bus ride. Like, I'm massively malnourished. Like, it's just tuna and saltines and peanut butter, right? Like warm tap water. Like, that is my diet. And so I'm a little down, to be honest. Like, I don't feel great. And it's August and it's 300 degrees outside in Texas. And so I'm talking to this class and about how great it is to be a broadcaster in the minors. And as my talk goes on, I'm kind of realizing I'm a little tired. I'm not really feeling great about this job right now. It's really hard. And so my talk kind of did this as it went on. And the class was so sweet. They were so nice. Did they
feed you?
No,
they shared snacks.
That would have been
helpful.
A big pizza or a sandwich even would have been great. They wrote me thank you notes, which was amazing. I got 50 thank you notes. And one of the students said, "Dear Mr. Goldsmith, thank you so much for telling us about what it's like to be a professional broadcaster. I used to think I wanted to be a broadcaster, but after hearing you speak, I've decided to pursue another career. So I just completely.
I hope I didn't just do that for someone.
Yeah, I completely
being an
destroyed.
agent would be great, but
Would be great.
Community relations, if you don't know about it, it's a wonderful career path. So you can always pursue that. But
both are good.
Yeah.
Both are good.
Yeah.
Both are good. All right. So this next question, we're going to go with Jasmine and Jose. This is very interesting. Zach at North Thurston High School says, we learn new things every day, for sure. If you had to choose one thing that you have learned in your career, Jasmine, we'll start with you. What would it be?
I would just say, I guess most importantly, the connections that you make along the way will definitely lead you to the path that you're supposed to be. So for me, I had the opportunity throughout college to have a handful of internships. So I think going way back, I worked for the US Open in 2015. And along the way, I met those mentors that really guided me along my career. And then from that kind of led me to where I am today. So most importantly, really just hang on to those people who support you and can guide you. And from there, I'm sure it'll work out for you, and wherever you're meant to be, you will be.
That's great. Good. Jose, what about yourself?
I think for me, it's just a matter of, staying sharp, in this digital industry. If you're complacent with your skills, it passes you by really fast. So I think the ability to just always trying to sharpen your blade, always trying to learn new things, trying to stay on top of the newest trends. I think that's something that, has helped a lot. Yeah.
That's why you are on TikTok right now, correct?
We literally just had a meeting yesterday about our TikTok account. So we're going to be starting that up very soon. We just signed up for it. It's verified. We should have stuff coming out in the next week or so.
Good. I'm excited.
Yeah. Already verified. Jose, man, got the hookup. All right. All right. So this next question does not have a name or a school listed, but we still like the question. We're going to go with Adam and Tyler in that order to answer this. Adam, how do you build a fan base around a team that is so young and in a lot of ways, mostly prospects?
Well, I don't think there's really a better time to build a fan base, really. Kind of like building a fan base while building a team. A lot of our young prospects are like highly rated. I think we had 5 top 100 prospects, depending on which list you look at this year. So there's a lot of excitement around the team right now. And you just want to be there for those first moments, like someday when a few of these prospects are Hall of Famers or All-Stars, you're going to want to be the guy who says, I was there for Kyle Lewis's first home run, his major league debut. Kyle Lewis hit 6 home runs in his first 10 games. So just being there for those moments, I think, is what I would pitch to the fans and to buy in, because it's an exciting young group.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Tyler, what about yourself?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, especially, young fans are so impressionable. I think about myself as a young kid and growing up and watching Felix Hernandez and Adrian Beltre and Raul Ibanez and all my favorite Mariners, and how they all helped me become, the Mariners fan that I am. And to speak about this group in particular, I mean, we have so many great guys, and Adam can speak to it too because he knows them well, but the Kyle Lewises and the J.P. Crawfords and even the prospects you haven't met yet, Jared Kelnick's and the Julio Rodriguez. I mean, they're just personable, great guys, and, it's not going to be difficult for our fans to fall in love with these guys, both new fans and old fans.
Yeah, tons of guys. From AAA already in the majors all the way down to the lower levels. All right, Monica, we're going to check in on accounting right now. Joshua at Skyline High School wants to know, what are the largest, we're talking big bucks here, Monica, big bucks, so give me the pennies, largest sources of revenue for the organization?
Our top 3, you have ticket sales coming in as number 1. So Mike's job is very important.
Oh, yeah,
to
Mike.
our
Way to
bottom
go,
line.
Mike.
We wouldn't survive without him. And second is our local broadcasting. So we sell the Mariners rights. So thank you, Aaron. Making sure that, we bring baseball to our fans. We sell our rights to broadcasting. They pay us money to air our games. And then third is probably Jasmine's job, I would say. We wouldn't be able to have, large sources of income without the relationships that she makes with different organizations and companies across the nation. really. So anything that you guys see on the walls, when you come into the ballpark, or if there's like a giveaway, they put their, company puts their logo on it. So it's a form of advertising and marketing. And so those kind of top off our three, and then you have our concessions, merchandise, and our other non-baseball revenue that kind of rounds out our revenue sources.
I will never live down the fact that Mike's job is more important than mine now. This is very disappointing.
I hate to break it to you.
See that face? That face is going to always be there. Yeah, that's too bad. It's much too bad. All right. Speaking of Mike, this next question is for Mike, Adam, and Jasmine. Grace at Redmond High School chimes in. Mike, what is your favorite and your least favorite part of your job?
This is always a fun question. My favorite part of my job it's been my favorite part since day one. I've had the luxury of working in two of the best ballparks in America, between T-Mobile Park and PNC Park. So I walk into a baseball stadium every single day. I've walked into a baseball stadium every day for work for the last 8 years. And could really do and get in there almost whenever I want, except for during a global pandemic. And people spend a lot of money to be able to go to games and have their brand inside the ballpark, and we can just go to a game. My 4-year-old runs around the ballpark and knows where everything is because we get the chance to go so much as fans and as a family. So we're really fortunate to be able to say that our office is a baseball stadium. It's a really cool aspect of the job. For least favorite, it's almost the same thing. My extra inning horror story was in Pittsburgh. I got to the stadium at 8:30 in the morning. We had a 3-hour rain delay and then a post-game concert. So I left at 1:30 the next morning. So now with young kids, we have a 4-year-old and now a 1-month-old. The long nights and the weekends and stuff in the ballpark are really challenging.
Hey, congrats on the 1-month-old, man. I had no idea.
Yeah,
you didn't send me an announcement or like a call or a text or anything?
No, thanks. It's it's been fun. I've been home a lot more obviously than I would have been, so it's been a good it's helped us transition a lot easier from 1 to 2 kids. Not a lot of sleep though.
I understand. Adam, how about yourself?
Well, I think my favorite part personally would be just seeing kind of the impact that your work can have on a community that's just so broad. Like the Mariners themselves, like our actual front office is not that big as far as company size goes, but I think our footprint in our region is just massive. So just seeing the impact and the joy that your work can bring to your community would probably be one of my favorite parts. And then just for my least favorite part is probably just the grind, I guess, like the 162 game. It gets repetitive, but that's also something I love about it is once you're in the middle of that, there's the camaraderie that you build. Like all of us are all in the ballpark together every single day for the whole summer. Not this summer, but there's just something to be said for that, but it can wear you down throughout the year. So.
Yeah, to dovetail on what you said about the impact, I know you were speaking kind of more regionally and maybe a bigger picture, but I'm not sure how many people watching this will understand or will know the impact that your department had on Edgar Martinez getting elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, Edgar put up those numbers on his own. He did the hard work, but what your department did in terms of getting that word out to writers and specifically voters across the country, especially those on the East Coast that maybe didn't have a chance to watch Edgar play nearly as much as maybe they would have liked to. I mean, it was huge. It was critical to Edgar getting that final vote in his final year of eligibility. So you're right. You guys can have a very big impact in a number of ways. And finally, we'll check in with Jasmine. Jasmine, your favorite and least favorite part of the job?
Yeah, that's a good question. So depending on the scope of a partnership, each partnership is different. And so I get the opportunity to work with, I think I've worked with almost everyone on this group chat right now to really bring those partnerships to life. So whether it's an outfield wall sign or, for example, T-Mobile, one of our biggest partnerships, that rebranding and renaming of the ballpark to what it is today really took a whole team. So our job as a department involves really working with every department to bring partnerships to life, but it just kind of depends on the goals of each company. So it makes my day-to-day interesting, and it never looks the same each day. I'd probably, on my least favorite part, I'd probably have to piggyback off of Mike and Adam. It's definitely a grind. It's long hours. We show up to the ballpark at 8 a.m. and sometimes we're with partners until the game ends. So it really is a grind, but that's the fun in working in sports. In addition, contrary to Mike's love for cold calls, I do not enjoy them that much. But it's sales, so every once in a while you do have to do that. So it's just part of the job.
Yeah, and I'll add to the long hours. Now, some of you all might be so high up on the totem pole, like obviously higher than me, that this doesn't apply. But for the majority of us, like if you work in baseball, for example, like July 4th, you can kiss it goodbye. Like July 4th isn't happening, right? I mean, now you guys are probably just praying the team's on the road on July 4th. And can we be honest right now? Like you look at the schedule, right? Okay, a lot of nodding, yes. Nobody wants to say it, but you're right. Yeah, like for us, like as broadcasters, I mean, like you're just hoping that July 4th is an early day game, like a 1 o'clock. Like if it's 4 or 7 o'clock, like, sorry, man, July 4th is just like a Tuesday, like whatever, just like any other day. Hot dogs are going to be gone by the time you get home. It's lemonade, totally pop, makes no difference. So all those kinds of summer things, they don't happen quite as easily when you work in baseball. Devin and Tyler Alfonso from Lakes High School. What are ways for high schools to become connected with the sports and entertainment industry from a professional standpoint? Devin, you want to lead this off?
Yeah. Definitely get involved as early as you can. I think a few of us on this call started out in a part-time game day role. I was in college as undecided. The Padres operations team actually came into my class as a guest speaker one day and just kind of started talking about what they do. And they put out there that they were hiring and that they'd be interested in interviewing some of us. So I just went down to the ballpark just to kind of see what they were about. And now 7 seasons later, I'm still in ballpark operations. You can really get a feel for what every other department does, being in kind of this starter role. We kind of have a hand in other departments. So if we're helping Mackenzie on a community relations event, if we're helping Tyler on a marketing event, you might not know what you want to do in sports, but you definitely get a really good front row seat to all the possibilities that are out there. Our fielder program that Mackenzie started in, we work really well with neighboring colleges. We get really great part-time students that it works well for their school schedules. It's mainly a summer gig, so they're on summer vacation. They spend some free time down at T-Mobile Park getting paid to play with kids at our play field or operate the speed pitch or hand out a t-shirt. And it's just a great way to spend your summer and start networking with other people in the sports industry.
Tyler, what do you think, man?
Yeah, along the same lines. I mean, the sports industry, especially, if you decide that's what you want to do coming out of college, can be really competitive. And the way that you set yourself apart is by experience and getting after it. So if you live in the Seattle area, call up the Everett Aqua Sox, call up the Seattle Thunderbirds. If you live in Wenatchee, call up the Apple Sox. If you live in Walla Walla, call up the Sweets. If you're in, Tri-Cities, there's the Dust Devils and the Tri-Cities Americans. I mean, send a letter, drop off a resume, schedule an informational interview, do everything you can to try to get your foot in the door. With the Mariners, if you're in high school or college and you're interested in a gig, we have another program, the Navigator Program, which Jasmine on this panel is a product of. It's a great way to get involved, meet a lot of people at the ballpark. It's a really cool program, kind of acts as our promo team. So, keep your eyes out. Go to mariners.com/jobs and see if we have part-time gigs, and do that the same as for all your local teams and colleges, even high school. If you're a Richland high school, the Bomber athletic department could use your help somehow, I'm sure of it. So definitely make contacts and get in touch with people. That's the best thing you can do at this point.
Yeah, I hope everybody watching, I hope one of the main takeaways from this is it really takes minimal effort to make a great impression, right? I mean, like, all it really takes is you writing a letter or an email or making a phone call or coming to the ballpark, a minor league ballpark, for example, and introducing yourself, looking somebody in the eye and being genuine in wanting to help their organization. And it doesn't mean, now I know Devin like was in college and the Padres like hired her right there on the spot from a classroom. Okay. Like maybe it's not true for Devin or for everybody else like it was for Devin. But like, it's amazing. You might not get a job right there on the spot, right? But the impression that you make and kind of the roots that something like that can grow and what it can develop into. I mean, so many of you on this call today started out on kind of the most basic level like that, and it grew to a full-time career. I mean, it's incredible. I think for a lot of people, and I think we all can remember when we were in high school, the idea of something like what you all are doing sounds so big and grandiose, and it's like, well, there's no way that I can even begin to take a bite out of that. But really, I mean, you absolutely can. There's no doubt. And internships are the ticket, the gateway to get into that. Jose and Jasmine, this last question is directed your way. This is from Isabel at Wenatchee High School. When dealing with situations where the season as whole is greatly impacted, like, of course, what we're going through right now, how does the industry ensure engagement with fans and with the partners and their engagement still remaining high? Jose, I'm sure you can speak from a fan standpoint.
Yeah, the crazy thing about this is, there's no playbook. Like we're in uncharted territory when it comes to this. So we're still kind of learning as we go along. I think the biggest thing is to, what we wanted to do when this all went down was we wanted to do three things. We wanted to inform, inspire, and entertain. We wanted to let people know what's going on, during this crisis, what's going on in the community. We wanted to shine a light on the good that, healthcare workers are doing during this time. But we're also a ball club, we're sports, we're here to entertain. If we can do something like that through our social channels, whether it's, something silly, like, we do things like we'd post all of our old logos and we'd ask fans to just pick 3 of them. Or, we did one this weekend where, there's a meme going around where it's, what player do you think of when you see this logo? And we just literally put our Mariners logo, and we had like 1,000 responses to it. It's just one of those things that, you just have to kind of know what your fan base wants and listen to them during this time. Because again, it's all new. This is something we've never experienced before.
Jasmine, how about from a partner's perspective?
Yeah, that was a really, really great point, Jose. We have also had to relearn how to engage with our partners. We've set up virtual happy hours where we're all on a Zoom call, kind of like this, and we're just kind of connecting with partners on a personal level. We've worked with Jose to find digital opportunities for our partners to be a part of, just to kind of keep their brands relevant as they are also going through this together. And we've had to emphasize that point. A lot of our partners' goals have changed with everything going on. So understanding that is important, and then figuring out ways where we as an organization can kind of help them has been kind of our main focus right now. So with that, we check in with our partners regularly to make sure they're doing all right, just on a personal level again. And we also work with a couple consulting firms who help us understand fans and really what they're doing. So a mix of learning, engaging, being personable and working together with our partners to help them and make sure their business is doing well has been really the key in engagement.
Yeah, a lot of maintenance going on right now for sure. Okay, we are almost at the end of our 12th annual DECA Day. What we're going to do now is each one of you have given this a lot of thought. Your one piece of career advice. Now, when I introduced everybody, we went in alphabetical order. We're going to go in reverse alphabetical order, and I don't think you guys can do it without my help. I mean, does anybody know who's first in reverse alphabetical order?
That'd have to be me, Aaron.
Oh, okay. Tyler checking in. Nicely done. 1 for 1 so far.
Yeah, absolutely. The one piece of advice, and it's the piece of advice that I try to relay to young people interested in the sports industry, and it's just never say no to things and try to get as much experience as you can. All the jobs right out the gate aren't going to be super luxurious. You're not going to instantly become Aaron Goldsmith, but do the tough job. My first job was a program hogger. I was selling $1 programs and stuffed mascot for the Spokane Indians, the Spokaneosaurus Auto. I was running around selling auto dolls, and it wasn't luxurious. And like I said, I've washed professional athletes' clothes, and I've shopped for peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I was able to build not just a resume and a wealth of experience, but also skills. And that's the number one most important thing, is just try to do as many things as you want, because that'll give you, like I said, experience and skills, but it'll also tell you what you're interested in, what you want to do.
Well, I hope I'm on your good side when you become president of the Mariners in 30 years.
I'm on my way.
Okay. All right. I'm glad you realized that. All right. Does anybody know who's second?
I think I have an idea.
Okay, Jose. Wow, you guys are sharp. Very good. All right. One piece of career advice. What do you have?
I think the one career advice I have is be kind, to everyone you come across. You never know when your next opportunity where it'll come from. It could be, a visiting team in the press box, and you just happen to, introduce yourself. Maybe there's a position that opens up there in a year that, you could be qualified for. You just never really know where career in sports can go. It can take you far and wide. So yeah, just be kind to others. That's pretty much what I have.
Well, I mean, Jose, it's a great point, because people watching won't know, more than likely, that the Mariners had like 2 stud social media dudes, like top of the game, really, really good. I mean, like you almost couldn't ask for a better pair of guys running your social media, right, Jose? I mean, yep. Nathan and Colin were outstanding, and within a matter of what, did they both leave in a month span?
Yeah, about a month.
Yeah, Nathan got hired to go be have the same role at the Seahawks, and Colin unexpectedly went to essentially work for his family business. And Jose was around this whole time, and everybody loved Jose, and Jose cranked out awesome work, and so it was like this perfect fit. But if Jose wasn't a good dude and wasn't doing a great job, we're not talking to Jose right now. So way to go. Do we know who's third?
To me?
Man, you guys are really surprising me. I didn't think you could do this.
I love the confidence. Well, Tyler took mine. It's something I always say to folks who want to get into the sports industry. I think it looks really glamorous, but I was the person who was on the field during Bark in the Park, and I did all of those things. So that's probably my number one piece of advice. I think secondly, I don't think I would be here if I didn't ask questions. I think so many people and young people are afraid to sound stupid or to be annoying someone or to bother them. The reason I got my internship with my department is I was studying abroad, and I had made a connection with my former boss from working our silent auctions for Mariners Care when I was a fielder. And I asked her over and over again if they had an internship position open, and they didn't. And then I continued to stay in contact with her for a few months, and basically two days after I came back to the States, they hired me as the intern. And ever since then, I've never stopped asking questions. I'm endlessly curious. I know my boss, Gina, could attest to this. I'm constantly asking her questions and proposing ideas. So ask questions. You're not bothering someone. I can speak for myself. I don't want to speak for everyone on the call, but I would be happy to take any informational interview if anyone ever wanted to connect via email. We've all been in that position. So ask questions, reach out. You just never know who you're going to make a connection with. And that'd be my big piece of advice.
That's great advice. Exactly. All right, Fortnite. Yep, here we go. What do you got?
To echo Mackenzie, probably the most fun I've had in the 9 weeks. I put something on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, happy to chat about working in sports," and I've had maybe 8 or 10 calls. Granted, I'm out walking my dog on every single one of them. So my wife has kicked. I talk really loud, so I've been kicked out of our house and relegated to outside. But
Mike, that's not why you've been kicked out of the house.
Yeah, well, there are many other reasons. That's just the one. That's the convenient one right now. But my piece of advice is twofold. One, don't get discouraged and keep your options open. You hear so many times that people want to work in sports, and obviously all of us would agree it's a great way to go. But then you hear someone say, "I only want to work in one sport," or "I only want to work in one town," and you really limit yourself to a very small number of opportunities if you're not willing to be flexible. It's okay to not work in your favorite sport. Not everybody who works for the Mariners is a big baseball fan. And I know that because I'm one of those people. I'm not really a big baseball fan. It's not the sport that I watch the most. So it's okay to be working in a sport that is not your favorite sport, right? And it's okay to not work for your favorite team. At the same time, it's hard. It's a really competitive industry to be in. When I was getting my start, I was an intern and realized, okay, there isn't a spot for me here. I need to find somewhere to go that's not home. And my high watermark, I tell people all the time, I had 84 applications out at one time was the most I had out. And of the 84, I got 4 interviews. And obviously it worked out with the Mariners in that group of 4 interviews that I had. But if you're only throwing yourself out there 3 or 4 or 5 spots, it's not enough. You need to give yourself as many opportunities as you can and apply for things you're not necessarily qualified for. If you think you'll enjoy it, throw your hat in the ring anyway. The worst thing that happens is you get an interview and you realize that you're not qualified for it. You got 20, 30 minutes of practice. So keep your options open and don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen right away, because it usually doesn't happen right away.
Sorry you hate baseball so much, Mike.
I never said I hated it. I just prefer watching hockey a little more.
Okay. Well, then you'll be very happy that we're getting a hockey team.
Yep.
Okay. Don't leave. All right. Do we know who's next in line?
Yeah.
All right, Monica. We're crushing it. We're crushing it, guys.
Yeah. I'd say my advice to everyone would be to never stop learning. To always have that thirst for knowledge. I mean, I hope everyone is like 103 years old and still learning something. But it's really important when you're in high school, college, throughout your career, to always keep an open mind. As soon as you close your mind to, okay, I already know how to do this and this is the way it's always been done, you're going to close so many doors on yourself. And you never want to do that. By having an open mind, you will get to learn how one department does something that might help another department or help your own department. So always constantly keep learning something. And maybe, while people are in high school, keep learning, okay, what skill sets do a lot of us, have we learned today that a lot of us have? Take time, throughout the year to learn a little bit about those skill sets. So never stop learning, never close your mind to learning new things or relearning how to do things a different way.
Absolutely. All right, who's next?
Me.
All right, Adam.
Yeah, I would say my kind of similar to everyone else, biggest piece of advice would just be that there's no one path to getting where you want to be in sports. I know everyone in my department has a different roundabout story how to get there. All of us have different stories of how we got where we are, and just stay open to any opportunity that comes your way that kind of leads you, gets you closer to where you want to be. Similar to Jose, my department was just stacked with talent basically when I was an intern, and I was like, there's no way I can get in here. And so after my second year interning, I just traveled, and I actually interviewed for this job as it opened from a $5 hotel room in Malaysia. So you have to stay open to the opportunity wherever you are. And then when I got back, Tim called me literally the day I got home and said, hey, can you come in and interview? And then the day after that, I started the next day. So just stay open to opportunities and go all for them when you get them would be my best advice.
How are the sheets in that hotel room?
Great. They were so nice. Just had to brush off the bugs and then.
30 thread count. Mm-hmm. All right. We only have, I can't believe you guys are, I didn't think there's any way. Seriously. Who do we know? We only have 2 left.
I'm next.
No, we're going to do it. Wow. All right. Jasmine, what do you have?
So my one piece of advice is similar to the advice most people have on this call is be flexible and be curious. To Adam's point, there's no one right way to get where you want to be. I started working in golf before I got an opportunity to work part-time under Tyler in the marketing department for a couple years. From there, I worked for my school's UW athletic department before working in the WNBA and then eventually the NFL before I got to where I'm at now. So there's no one path, there's no right or wrong way. You just want to always be curious and be flexible, because at the end of the day, those connections that you make and the people that you meet along the way are going to help you get to where you're meant to be.
Absolutely. All right, let's hear it, ballpark. We got ballpark camp going on here with Devin.
It's me, last but not least. I think to echo what pretty much everyone said, just this industry is a lot about building relationships, and kind of in any job that you're in, you really want to just make sure that you are taking the time that you do have wherever you are to build the relationships with people around you. And I think the easiest way to do that is just to say hello to every single person you pass, whether it's an executive or somebody on the housekeeping team. I find myself in a jam and we have a problem to be solved. And when I look at my toolkit, I'm like, who can I go to help? And it might not be somebody in my department. It might be something I need from Adam, or it might be something I need from Monica. And I can feel confident in the fact that I've been kind to them and I've said hello and I've gone out of my way to make that relationship, that when I do approach them with a problem or just I need help with something, I can feel pretty good about them saying yes. And that's huge in this industry. So I think just the easiest, simplest thing you can do is to just say hello to everyone you meet and make that impression so that they remember you when you need them.
It's all really good advice, not surprising. I think there's a real thread of humility that a lot of you touched on. And that was one of the things that I originally thought of as well. Like, I think we have all been there. We can all remember the earliest days of job hunting or intern hunting and feeling like, oh, come on, man, like I'm better than that job. Like, I'm better than that internship. Like, I'm not moving to Maine. There's no, and like, I went through that and I worked in Maine for like 8 months for a job, for an internship that paid me like a month that I thought I was way better than. And it turned out to be the best season of my life. And I learned so much. I met so many good people that helped me get better, helped me get noticeably better, that helped me get jobs further down the line. And, you know, the other thing that I was thinking of about this is, and we touched on a little bit earlier, is to find a way to be politely aggressive, right? Like, you never want to bug somebody, but you do want to, from time to time, let people know that you're around. It's incredible. All the internships that I did, and my career in sports started way before I knew I wanted to be a broadcaster. Like, I was a intern for a minor league basketball team in St. Louis, where I'm from, a minor league hockey team in St. Louis, for a sports agent, for all these other things that had nothing to do with broadcasting, but that were in sports. And it's amazing. All of them came from me just picking up the phone and calling and saying, "Are you looking for an intern?" Yeah. When can you start? I mean, it's incredible. My second broadcast job was in this collegiate wood bat league called the Cape Cod Baseball League, totally unpaid, complete volunteer internship. And I kid you not, I had no other job opportunities. Like, the season was starting in a matter of weeks at this point. I'd been rejected from every job that I applied for. And I called every Cape League team. I went Mike style, I just cold called. And the essentially president of the team picked up the phone. I told him who I was, and if I asked him if he had a broadcasting internship available, he said yes. I said, "Where can I send my demo?" And he said, "You sound fine. When can you start?" And I got hired right there on the spot, and I hung with the phone going, I don't think this is how it's supposed to work. But I drove to Cape Cod, and I called a full season of Cape League baseball, and it helped me get my next job in Portland, Maine. So it's crazy just being assertive and being kind to someone over the phone or in a letter or in an email, how far that can go, because there's so many people, students who you were watching this right now, who were thinking like, well, I can't do that. Like there's only the privileged type of people get to work in sports because their neighbor knows somebody, or their neighbor is the president, or their mom or dad knows somebody. But that's not it at all. Like, just be kind, work hard, and persevere, and don't be afraid of some long, long nights at the ballpark, for sure. Well, hey, this was a pretty unique DECA Day. A lot of great content. Hopefully the next time we do DECA Day next year, it'll be in the ballpark, and it won't just be Devin who's at T-Mobile Park. But panelists, you were awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I'm sure everybody learned a whole lot. So thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. This was
Thank
awesome.
you, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
You got it, guys. All right, DECA students, we'll see you next year at T-Mobile Park.